longer.
Wait.
And he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. This company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network? So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourself. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off. Edward Systems, and he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. This company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourself. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
He's like, turn them off. I was going crazy. He was going in. He was cooking. I'm gonna let him cook one more time. Just for the people in the back, you know what I'm saying?
Edward George Ruddy died today. Edward George Ruddy was the chairman of the board of the Union Broadcasting Systems, and he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. This company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network? So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourself. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
All right, give me a second. Try to get on the ground before the motherfuckers hit me. Jeez.
We visit Budapest and see what else they have just sitting out here for everyone to see. We talked about their chocolate museum, and now I'd like to talk about their coffee shop, the Budapest New York Cafe. And before I begin, have any of us ever seen a building like this coffee shop actually be constructed? Any of us, anywhere? Or do any of our towns have any plans to build a coffee shop just like this? Or anywhere close?
Nice coffee shop.
Why were all these buildings built before we all got here? And now there is not one in the entire world being built again. And was it so common that they built buildings like this one that they could just hand it over to a coffee shop? Yeah, you know what?
Right.
We don't need this one anymore. Anyone want to just run their coffee shop in there? Great. Here you go. So, of course, they tell us that a life insurance company was responsible for constructing this place in 1894. And here we have some normal, very simple construction, especially in the 1800s. Any one of those 1800 people would normally knock this type of construction out in just a few weeks. Even during the Great Depression, they used local prisoners. Or just tell the architect to just go build it himself, like they normally do. It's just ridiculous. The detail on this place is incredible. Now we have a depiction of this place from 125 years ago. Just look at this. Horses and wagons. People just roaming these dirt streets. These buildings were already here. These people in these pictures are the first people. They have no idea what's going on here. They were just put here. They did not construct these buildings. How can they be so technologically advanced, but they have dirt roads? Would the roads not be the first step in the construction process? These people have no idea what's going on here at all. They were tossed into this town and said, get to work in my coffee shop. This is from the past civilization. Now, let's dive into this insane narrative. Not only are they saying that they built this place in the 1800s, they're also telling us that they built this place in just 4 years. This kind of nonsense does not work anymore. This is absolutely insane. We are fully understanding that it would take longer than 4 years to construct this today in 2023. How is it possible that in the 1800s they can just put these together all over the block in 4 years? Not just this building, but all of them. Take a look at these people again and prove to me that they were capable of constructing this. They are the ones telling us that it took 4 years in the 1800s, with not a single photo of the construction process. We no longer need to just accept that, and I'm not sure why anyone ever did. But here we are asking questions finally, and waking up to the nonsense.
Your name is Shorts? That's funny.
4 years to build a coffee shop that looks more impressive than anything we've ever seen constructed in our lifetimes. Where did this technology go? Who really built this place? And for why? It surely wasn't a coffee shop. In my opinion, there was a previous civilization, a much more advanced civilization, that either left here for more land that we are unaware of, or they were wiped off the face of the earth completely. And world's fairs were used to repopulate the cities. And here, we are given ridiculous narratives to explain why coffee shops look like palaces in the 1800s. Just throwing pillars up there on the 3rd story with ease in the 1800s, with no roads. We have horses and wagons in these pictures. Are these random people and this random horse and wagon photoshopped into this picture to make it look like there were people? It looks empty other than those fake people and fake horse. I could look at this building all day. 4 years to construct something that lasts forever. Now remember, we have talked about this town before. It's one thing to say that this is the only thing here in Budapest. The problem is that the entire city is covered in these unbelievable buildings, and they have no idea what to do with them, like we talked about in episode 30. The Parliament building has almost 700 rooms, and they use like 5 of them. They have a chocolate museum right across the street that's so incredible it looks like it's CGI. Their library as well. Now we add a coffee shop to the equation. Oh, and did we all catch it earlier, or did we miss it? The main door is guarded by 2 devil statues holding lanterns. Shit. And to me, just from looking at the building myself, do I see 2 or do I see 4? They look chained up. Are they even devils or are they people? Are they showing us the past civilization? Chained up and suffering right on the building. And which construction company was this good in 1894? I believe the end is near for the times where people walk right past these buildings just completely unaware of what is right next to them, realizing that there was a past civilization that constructed these buildings and they stand the test of time. Also very interesting and kind of a side note and something to think about, that every statue from the past civilization shows humans that are just shredded with muscle everywhere. Are we being fed things that hold us down mentally and physically on purpose? Are our bodies naturally in perfect shape with perfect muscle? Is that the way we were created? Yeah. And the system that we're in destroys it on purpose? I 100% believe so. I've never seen a statue on one of these places that isn't in perfect shape. Do you think that every artist in the world just wanted to sculpt a perfect looking person? Maybe. But if not, everyone looked like that. Why wouldn't a few statues be in average shape? Every single one of them all over the world has a shredded 8-pack with massive biceps, like they'd be training to play in the NFL for 10 years, or a bodybuilder. Instead, they look depressed on this building and chained up, all 4 of them. So we have this coffee shop that will be there forever that was supposedly built in 4 years. Oh wait, we aren't done with it? What is this? There's more?
But wait, there's
Oh,
more.
there's more. We have the controllers sitting above the people, of course. The big picture here right on the front of the coffee shop. Controllers sitting above the people, all happy, looking much smaller and not as in shape as us, and keeping us down, chained up and miserable, controlling us with fake stories. And once we all realize the fake stories, their chains will come off, and the depression, the miserable lifestyle goes away immediately. And this is very important to understand. It's not just about buildings. It's about learning the truth and understanding that we are incredibly special. We are incredibly intelligent once we lift the veil. But as long as we allow these two individuals to fool us, we will be chained and depressed. This city is just incredible. The whole thing is much older than we're told. And does it surprise you that we have this right down the road? St. Stephen's Basilica. They say this thing was built in 1890, which is a complete joke. We did not build this in 1890, but let's continue. And do we have proof of this? Here we go. It's not a fire, thankfully, this time, but a supposed demolition in 1868. It collapsed, so they say, and had to draw up a new one, of course, because that was easy in 1868. Finished the demolition work in 1875 and finished the rest of it in 1890. Oh, what do you know? This fake architect is dead a year later. We did not build this in 1890, but let's continue. And do we have proof of this? Here we go. It's not a fire, thankfully, this time, but a supposed two individuals to fool us. We will be chained and depressed. This city is just incredible. The whole thing is much older than we're told. And does it surprise you that we have this right down the road? St. Stephen's Basilica. They say this thing was built in 1890, which is a complete joke. We did not build this in 1890, but let's continue. And do we have proof of this? Here we go. It's not a fire, thankfully, this time, but a supposed demolition in 1868. It collapsed, so they say, and had to draw up a new one, of course, because that was easy in 1868.
Right.
Finished the demolition work in 1875 and finished the rest of it in 1890. Oh, what do you know? This fake architect is dead a year later. Who believes this nonsense? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. There's not another fire, is there? What did we just find? In 1947, the wooden structure catches on fire during the repair work on the roof. If you have seen my last 33 episodes, you will know all about the fires at this point. The fire story is the nod to the hidden group that this is a building from the old world. It's the key to it all. It's in nearly every old world building. There is always a fire story. Another fire story. Can you believe it? It is so repetitive and right in our faces. I'm just going to be honest with you. When I find that there's another fire while researching these buildings, it blows my mind more and more every time, because it is the key to understanding the narrative and understanding that these buildings are from the old world. It is 100% a symbol. In my opinion, there was never a fire here in this building. If there was, that also wouldn't shock me. But from what I've seen, many times there is no record of a fire ever being there. They simply throw it in the narrative to tell their group which building is which. As for the fires in today's time, they are an easy way to destroy a building and the old world without placing blame on anybody. They then collect the insurance money instead of hiring a demolition company. Just randomly catching fire in 1947.
Okay, basically all the buildings catch on fire. Got it. I gotta find something else. Give me a second, though. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what else.
Central.
Alright, yeah. I found a video that we can watch. But, I'm trying to get a kill, man. This shit crazy right now. I can't kill nobody.
Transport delivered to the marker.
Request received. Assigning vehicle now.
Cancel that. Marking danger. 70 meters away from my position.
We are moving to attack Alpha 2.
Charlie objectives under control. Sector secure.
Grenade thrown.
Battle is costing us. We've lost half our strength.
See if the grenade goes to the ground again. Yeah, they always go to the ground.
We control more sectors than they do. Make sure you defend our positions.
I'm fucking lit his chest up though. Damn! Should've known. Anyway.
Central Sun, Black Sun, and the nucleus, so the central part of the Earth, right? Let me to show you the photos. So first of all, you have the typical stuff on the internet about the sphere, globe, Earth with the nucleus, right? The middle part, the Earth's, whatever you want to call it, the central part of the thing. Nucleus or central sun, because the whole thing with the hollow Earth, they go with this, with the central sun. And then of course you have the hole in the North Pole, which I've made a video about this, and your typical stuff between hollow Earth, central sun, and the central part of the Earth, the magma core, right? The magma, the lava core, whatever. So these photos just to help you understand, because of course if you see the world with the electromagnetic field, it looks like a sphere even though it's level flat. Now take this into consideration, and now go for the black sun. So you see, when you understand how the world works with all this electromagnetism, we have the black sun inside the Earth. So what NASA did, and all the other people on the internet who speak about this whole thing about hollow Earth, central sun, magma core, they do state some actual facts, but of course when you see this photo you don't understand, and you say, okay, yeah, it's just fake. It is fake, but it's, in a way, they took the Vedas and they took the real cosmology of the world with the black sun, which is moving underneath, and as you can see, it's like an electromagnetic field. So of course the black sun is underneath the Earth, but instead of showing you this, they just made it look like this. So the whole sphere, as if, you know, the electromagnetic field, but looking like with curved water, and the black sun, which is underneath the Earth, they put it like the nucleus, the core, made of magma kind of stuff. So do you get my point? Like, people always say, oh, they're lying, they're hiding. Well, yes and no, because yeah, like when you encode something, you're pretty much saying the same thing, it's just you're encoding it. Of course people don't understand until I try to explain it, just the way I explained the whole thing with the North Pole hole, where you have the electromagnetic field of the sun that comes through that hole in the North Magnetic and hits the dome and creates Polaris, right? And then it gets refracted, inverted, and creates the sun and the moon at a lower altitude. But of course for us it's still a big altitude, because it's like 5,500 kilometers, which when you see it with your Nikon camera, Nikon P1000, which is over 100 optical zoom, you see it as if you're looking at 55 kilometers. That's why you see them so close. So it's like 100 times difference, right, with the optical zoom. So everything makes sense once you understand the cosmology of the real world. But that cosmology can actually be put in such a way to proliferate these types of thinking with the sphere, curved water, and magma core, or central sun, etc. But once you compare this and you see what Vibes of Cosmos is explaining, and you actually understand where the sphere comes from, and the whole thing with the sun inside the Earth, then you understand everything. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for me, and it's super easy now to understand. Central.
He's like, and it's super easy for me to understand now. No problem. There we go. All right, that's better.
Doing good so far, troops. The hostiles hold fewer sectors than we do.
Terrible. I'm doing terrible.
They're attacking Alpha 1. The hostiles have taken
located.
Sector Charlie.
10 meters. Actually, cancel that.
Fuck, I gotta get down.
Alpha 1 is lost. We do not have control.
Transport at the marker.
Copy that. Vehicle's on its way.
Alpha 1 under Russian control. Sector Alpha just fell to the enemy.
Damn! Oh, he was right there. Of course. Mother.
Sector Echo fully secure.
Mine Unveiled. This channel got some good stuff. If y'all looking to, you know, do some research and
We've conquered
stuff.
more sectors
It's a
than
good
they
channel.
have. Keep going.
Mine Unveiled.
Hey, Moon here. Today I wanted to take some time to talk about media. So, what is media? At its core, it's simply communication. Media can be spoken word, podcast on a screen or a radio, or just words on a page. There are tons of different kinds of media, from TV shows and commercials to movies, streaming services, video games, digital printed magazines, newspapers, books. Communication is undoubtedly the most powerful tool we possess. This means that mass media is a very powerful force in today's society, especially in more developed areas of the world. Sociologists call this mediated culture. And mediated has two primary definitions, which is to bring about a result such as a physiological effect, and to serve as an intermediary or indirectly connect two or more parties together. This to me means that the media is being used as a conduit to connect people as opposed to people connecting with people. When we consider that culture is created through connection, it starts to seem like different facets of media create their own cultures or subcultures. It's nearly impossible to go anywhere in the developed world without seeing a television, billboard, magazine, or book. This media doesn't only exist to sell a physical product, but also sells us on specific moods or attitudes. The most important product, though, is surely consensus on what is and what isn't significant or valid. Media tells us what is and isn't appropriate in the subculture that it's supporting. Without mass media, the concept of celebrities or influencers would be much less important. I'm sure in a local area there would still be some well-known local celebrities, but they'd most likely be people with high political or financial standing. Perhaps there would be some well-known outlaws or artists, but not nearly the way that it is now. It's only recently that actors, singers, and social influencers have become household names and achieved stardom. Humans being subjected to large amounts of media intake is seemingly a recent phenomena. It wasn't too long ago that the television only had maybe 3 stations, public broadcasting, and a few local or independent stations. Compared to the 500 plus television channels we have now, not to mention all the options for online streaming, choices are innumerable. Like any tool, though, it can be used to commit wicked deeds. Lately, it seems like someone or something is utilizing the media to subtly sow despondency in the minds and hearts of so many. The wide reach of this tool is a slippery slope because there will be those who take advantage of the power in such a cunning and elusive manner that even suggesting that just maybe some, if not all, mass media outlets have ulterior motives is a cultural faux pas, to say the least. Nowadays, instead of having just a few channels and shows that target a small demographic, we have countless options tailored to all ages, backgrounds, incomes, attitudes, and belief systems.
Holy shit, bro.
This
What
wider
was that?
reach of the media makes TV, cell phones, computers the focus or distraction of all different types of people. When it's not television or smartphones, it's books, magazines, or video games. Just as people sink themselves into adventure stories, people fall into news stories, and the dedication to the cause being incited by the media outlets can also render people incapable of communicating with those outside of their subculture. Personally, I think it's never a good sign when a cult mentality breeds fear, disagreement, and suspicion against our own neighbors, friends, and family. I wanted to say that this is prevalent in every subculture. Even in the so-called conspiracy circles, there are instances of canceling. When you listen to something somebody says and you disagree with it, you lose respect for them, which I suppose is a given, considering the whole basis of the subculture is, be suspicious and seek the truth. I can't say I'm not guilty of feeling that way myself. I definitely used to feel that way when someone whose work I respected, someone I watched all the time, did or said something I really disagreed with. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think that it's very common to admire people in the media, whether big media or independent media. However, and this is key, if we set expectations for anyone but ourselves, we will end up disappointed. No one else on this earth is ever going to have the same exact point of view as you. All of us make some percentage of our choices based on personal experience. And the amount of just one single human's personal experience is incalculable. So the chances that anyone else is going to totally agree with you, even on your most basic values, is very unlikely. Does this mean that people who do horrible things should be left alone? Of course not. But it's more common that we judge someone very harshly based on something that they said or did, usually out of context. Not based on their character, because that's something you can only really experience through face-to-face interaction over a period of time. Nowadays, many of us think we know something or someone based on photos with words underneath them. It's good to listen to where others are coming from, because a lot of us do have things in common, just as many things as we don't have in common probably. It's really up to the individual to decide which things to focus on and how to apply what we learn from others. There are a lot of people that I listen to that I do not agree with on their lifestyle or attitude, but I still really enjoy their content and respect them and learn from them. Do I judge them sometimes? I mean, yeah, a little, but I don't go write it on their page because it's just a fleeting thought in the grand scheme of my life. What I learn from them holds a much higher value than what I don't like about them. I think it's important to remember that, as far as I know, these are just people we're talking about. I think that the disconnect happens when we view a person through a screen and we don't attach it to a real human or even suspect that it's not a human. And sometimes we deify people we don't know, and once the idea that we've built of them changes or is shattered, we get irritated or feel betrayed. Especially when it comes to people who are rich or even remotely famous. I noticed that the general consensus is that all rich people are evil or controlled by something beyond our understanding. I do think that it's true that there are rich people who are unfortunately very sick and evil and twisted, but there are people of all incomes, ethnicities, heights, weights, whatever, that fall into this category. Anyone can be aligned with evil. Evil is not picky and will take anyone. But I do think there are more good people in the world, and grouping any amount of people together based on a narrow set of qualities is just unreasonable. We could get deep and say that there are robots or secret agents on the other side of the screen intentionally trying to mislead people. I can't deny that that's a possibility for literally anyone you don't know on the internet, so I think the lesson here is do not connect yourself so deeply to a media outlet, influencer, or independent media channel to the point where you're hurt or upset by something they say. Putting that much emotional stock into people and stories that we don't actually experience can be fun because there's no commitment, but it can also become damaging if it's too much of a crutch.
Look at that card.
We could instead just try to have confidence in ourselves and learn from others objectively. It's crazy to think that the masses are now a part of the mass media, making media at an all-time massive. So, how big is the role of mass media in our society today? This has been a hotly contested topic since the invention or reinvention of the printing press. There are a few well-known perspectives on this question: limited effects theory, class dominant theory, and culturalist theory. The limited effect theory argues that because people generally choose what to watch or read based on what they already believe, the media exerts a negligible influence. This theory originated and was tested in the 1940s and 50s. Studies that examined the ability of media to influence voting found that well-informed people relied more on personal experience, prior knowledge, and their own reasoning. However, media experts more likely swayed those who were less informed. Critics point to two problems with this perspective. First, they claim that the limit effects theory ignores the media's role in framing and limiting the discussion of the debate of issues. How media frames the debate and what questions the members of the media ask change the outcome of the discussion and the possible conclusions people may draw. Okay, so to me, this is basic communication failure. We have person A in a conversation who's trying to make a point, and then person B is asking questions that do not pertain to the point the person A is trying to make.
Like what?
Or asking, person A questions they've already answered on many occasions, proposing explosive accusations, twisting words to frame the speaker in a mediated light. The second criticism is that this theory came into existence when the available and dominance of media was far less widespread. The class dominant theory argues that the media reflects and projects the views of a minority elite which controls it. Those people who own and control the corporations that produce media comprise this elite. Advocates of this view concern themselves particularly with the massive corporate mergers of media organizations, which limit competition and put big business at the reins of media, especially news media. Their concern is that when ownership is restricted, a few people then have the ability to manipulate what people can see or hear. For
God, he
example,
was getting
owners can
mad.
easily avoid or silence stories that expose unethical corporate behavior or hold corporations responsible for their actions. The issue of sponsorship adds to this problem. Advertising dollars fund most media. Networks aim at programming at the largest
The Black
possible
Sun.
audience.
Black Sun. You find all this symbology online on the internet. Let's see some photos first to put ourselves in place. Vibes of Cosmos. I already explained in several videos I've made now, and I'm gonna.
Sun.
The Black
This is more
Sun.
important.
Black Sun. You find all this symbology
media
online on
cult.
the internet. Let's see some
Okay.
photos first to put ourselves in place. Vibes of Cosmos. I already explained in several videos I've made now, and I'm gonna still be on making. But you should understand now, the same as with the symbol of the Masons, with the G and the compass and everything else, everything was given to you. Nothing is occult. The thing is, people, they form these groups online on YouTube, Facebook, alternative media, just for the sake of, well, gathering viewers and gathering people like in the church, followers and stuff. I mean,
Right.
come on. I care, yes, of course, about all the occult stuff and the interpretations, but let's be honest. The same way that with the symbol of the G and the compass and stuff,
Damn.
we know that the black sun exists. Now you understand why in Egypt the sun was so important, and the sun is like the sun god, and the sun is created by the black sun, and why the black sun is so important in what country in the second part of, well, in the middle part of the 20th century with you
What, the
know what I
Nazis?
mean. So
Germany?
it's not, yeah, sure, I mean, we can speak about, of course there are interdimensional beings, and of course there are like lots of things, but the most important thing of all is that these, you call them secret societies or you call them Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, they just show you the reality of the real world. They just show you the real map. The world is not a curved water spinning ball, but it's not a classical flat earth map that you see in all these groups online. The classical flat earth map was taken and was made simple from the actual map itself. That's why NASA shows you the sphere, but of course they put curved water, and that's why the people in the flat earth communities, they show you only the simplified perfect circle with ice wall, because everything is just to make you fall into one extreme or the other. This information has been public for a very long time. The only thing that Vibes of Cosmos does is he made it more accessible, to say so. But there were books written in the 20th century, in the 19th century, and this has been around forever. And the symbology with what you've seen so far, what we see in movies and music and cartoons, and even in school, and even like in the old textbooks, everything was just given to us to understand the shape of the real world. And the sun, we live thanks to the black sun. We are electromagnetic. If it wasn't for the sun, which creates the other sun, like the normal sun we see, we wouldn't be alive. So the big question is for you to ask another question: who created all this? And of course, Christians and other people are going to go by a supreme creator. If you download Electronic Sword, the thing is, people are lazy. People just speak, and they speak out of ignorance, but nobody sits down to study. Electronic Sword has the Strong Dictionary, and when you study the good translation with the Strong Dictionary, you're gonna see that in the Bible, and we're speaking about the Bible because people who watch me from the United States, from the UK, usually are Christians, right? There's no such thing as a supreme creator. There is no such thing as the divine Trinity of God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. The texts speak clearly. Creators in plural. That's it. Creators in plural who gather together, they make a council, and they decide what to create, and they decide to make human in their image as an experiment. Now, are they the creators of all this, or were they created? Stop right there, because if you're not gonna stop, you're gonna go crazy. So it's good to research, it's good to go into this fantasy mode of whoa, so mysterious. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is all the truth has been revealed about the shape of the reality of the real world. And my previous videos, and of course the books of Vibes of Cosmos and the Vedas, everything just shows you the way it works. Now, are there still questions left? Of course. Are you gonna answer them? No, because it's not up to you or me. We just know what they give us, and the supreme people who are in the know, in the what we call the secret societies, they know, but they give it to us. They show us, look, the intersection, the place where the sun and the moon are formed, the black sun underneath. They give us a symbology of the black sun over and over again everywhere. Once you understand that the black sun is responsible for us being alive, because if it wasn't for this movement underneath us, we would not exist. So next time I hope this allows you to open your mind truly, and in the end of the day, there's just like two conclusions you can get from all this. People are just lazy. Ignorance is the result of being lazy. I was just a normal human being. I stepped into the internet like all of you, like any other person. I started researching. I saw so many things and so many diarrheas on the internet and so many groups and stuff. And in the end, I just made a step back, tried to find the information that respects the reality of the real world, and took it from there. And I finally got to the conclusion, everything was revealed. This is how it works. I am just a common mortal. So now what? Well, I'm just gonna have to keep on living the best way I can. And when the time comes to bye-bye, then bye-bye. At least that's my point. So, I mean, it's up to you to do whatever you want with this information. It's just my responsibility as a human being is to just show, hey, they just show us the reality of the real world and how it works. Now, of course, you are entitled to stick with your classical flat Earth map groups, or to stick with the spinning ball Earth, NASA, curved water, and gravity. It's up to you. But there's also the reality of, hey, they've shown you everything you need to know during decades and centuries. You decide whatever you want to believe. So, see you in the next videos, and of course, I'm going to try to explain Vibes of Cosmos stuff.
Of course.
Allow me to illuminate you with what has been in front of our faces the whole time. You know, the symbol, it's very criticized on the internet, Facebook, YouTube, groups and websites and all these people. Let me show you just a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. You know, the truth has always been in our eyes, in our faces, all the time. Remember this whole thing, you know, with the eye in the middle, with the compass and like this like inverted, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? And the sun and the moon. So now we're gonna check the Vibes of Cosmos stuff. You're gonna say, why are you showing me this? Because I don't get it. There's nothing I see there that it looks the same as the Masonic symbol. Is it or is it not? Let me show you now all the thing, the whole picture on the screen. That's why I've made it like double so you can see it. Do you see the compass first of all? Here, for example, I mean, I don't even know how to explain this because it's so obvious in front of your face. We have one triangle here and one inverted triangle here. If you go here, remember this is like the black sun, electromagnetic. One triangle here, which is caused with these three, like Polaris, the fixed star, which is made by the electromagnetic sun in the dome above, with the sun and the moon. That's the triangle. That's the first triangle with a compass. G comes from God and geometry. So geometry is our God, and also the sun is our God, because without the sun we cannot live. If you read the ancient text, there's a plural of creators. And then the inverted triangle which that's why it's so everything is so millimetric and so perfect, is this here, the inverted triangle. So with Hyperborea, the hole in the North Pole as we call it, and forming an inverted triangle with the sun and the moon. The center here, and then the triangle goes here. So it's like, and then in the middle you have like this space with a G. So it's exactly the same shape, because if you look at the shape here, it's the triangle, and then this here, if you make these two lines to go exactly in the central part and not a circle, you form the interior shape exactly like a rhomboid, not a perfect rhomboid, but you get my point. So maybe this one is actually better to, I mean, they're all the same. And that's why you have the sun and the moon here. And that's why you have like this circle, which is like the sphere, which is not the globe with spinning curved water. It's the actual electromagnetic dome that goes all around. The Sheol, which is the interior part of the earth, which is like a long way to go. But part of that long way to go, of course, there's like intraterrestrial and cities and stuff, but then way below, you have the electromagnetic sun. And then I'm going to show you the electromagnetic sun, which has also been revealed in a different symbology, which is very popular, but people just criticize it as being demonic and satanic and all these words that you find online. I seriously don't understand. So the only reason why people don't understand is because they are lazy and they don't study. You have to spend time to study this the same way you spend time to study a foreign language, or to study computer science, or to study to cook and to bake, or to study construction or whatever. So don't go around saying, oh, demonic and satanic and all that stuff because of the actions of some people. Don't criticize what's in front of your face, because if you hate this, then you're pretty much saying, I hate the reality of the real world, I hate the earth, I hate the sun, and pretty much you hate the place where you live. And by the way, if it wasn't for the electromagnetic sun that creates the sun and the moon, you and I, we would not be here. You and I would not be able to live, because we are electromagnetic beings and we need the electromagnetic sun, which is formed by the electromagnetic black sun. And the only thing that these guys are doing, they're just pointing you, they're showing it to you in your face. Now, of course, people are going to say, oh, it's occult. It's occult if you don't want to study. But if you want to study it, it's not occult anymore. So, see you in the next video.
Rooms. A dungeon room.
Just allow me to illuminate.
Ain't that great. Mother sucker. Hold on. Yeah, whatever.
Support package ready to drop.
Need a transport. Deliver to the marker.
Оставьте меня здесь! Не подходите!
We are about to attack Alpha 1.
We've lost an objective to the enemy.
Grenade, get down!
We're taking too many casualties. Our attack on Alpha 2 is underway.
I need a reload!
Кто-нибудь! Помогите! Меня это обстреливает!
Because the broader the appeal, the greater the potential purchasing audience and the easier selling airtime to advertisers becomes. Thus, new organizations may shy away from the negative stories about corporations, and especially parent corporations that finance large advertising campaigns in their newspaper or on their stations. Television networks receive millions of dollars in advertising from companies like Nike and other textile manufacturers were slow to run stories on their news about possible human rights violations by these companies in foreign countries. Critics of this theory counter these arguments by saying that local control of news media largely lies beyond the reach of large corporate offices elsewhere, and that the quality of news depends upon good journalists. They contend that those less powerful and not in control of media have often received full media coverage and subsequent support. As examples, they name numerous environmental causes.
In other words, the media bad.
Piece that he titled Challenge for a Civilized Society, and it was a great
That guy's
showcase. And he's just emailed me and informed me that he has this new website. Let's see
He's
here.
not trying to be
I
funny,
hope
he
we
just
can
be
see
chill
it.
as
I'll
hell.
drop that down a little. Challenge for a Civilized Society.com, and here we have home, and if we click on showcases, as I just have here, we get these showcases. So we pretty much looked at showcase 1. I don't even think we finished it, and it's great.
God
It's
damn,
really
fuck him
user
up.
friendly the way he's laid it out on this
Fuck.
website. And I'm just gonna
Damn.
scroll through
They got
and
me.
kind of see where we ended. Scroll. I think we were somewhere around these clamps. Clampage. Found all
Clampage.
over this realm. There were some in the Americas, and this is just some of the best compiling of this research that I've seen, because it comes from our community. And it's not to say that we know, we don't have the answers. But I think
Wow.
prior to our community, nobody was really asking the question. How can you have the right answers if you don't ask the right questions? And for me, the
Right.
most important aspect at this moment in time is the similarities. For instance, when looking at these clamps, when we see them all over the world, when we
Clampage.
see similar cathedrals or a style of architecture, brings us to the notion that these are not the works of a separate people. And all these styles that they would tell us now are of a separate people can be found all over the world. The Romanesque style, the Moorish style, the Gothic,
Right.
and Richardsonian. All just names for styles that can
Same
be
shit.
found everywhere and are.
Into the view.
Sorry, I think I was being too serious. Chief thought so. So, perhaps a little more lighthearted moving forward. I think some of the best accounts may be the old texts from India. No people are more versed in the idea of civilization blossoming and collapsing in the blink of an eye, over and over again, blossoming like a lotus. When this research started, it was Tartaria. Really, a particular architectural style was attributed to these people, but I don't think it was literal. It was just a way to describe all of this research. Slang. But it doesn't matter. It's essentially the same. Built as the foundation of this whole realm. All these blocks are amazing, and I'm sure he has it in here, but what we find is these works continue under sea level. We've looked at the ruins of
Under sea
Yonaguni in
level,
Japan, or off the coast of Japan. Some of the largest man-made structures that I've ever
What?
seen, all lying
Anti-tank
underwater,
line?
as if there wasn't water at one point. We see evidence for giant trees, but what if all the giant trees were destroyed for whatever reason? Where would all their water go? And I think it's a plausible explanation for all the flooding, unless the trees were taken elsewhere. But otherwise, mainstream tells us all these waters came from asteroids. So the asteroid, the icy comet
Asteroids.
or asteroid, is burning up in the atmosphere and delivers some water. I mean, that's what we're told. Here we see giant blocks in both old depictions. Actually, it looks like quite possibly the same spot, even, or close to it, but it's not. And look at their little cart here. Very fascinating cart, maybe to move their luggage. We see depictions of the old people toiling in the mud. And I love making videos of abandoned looking North American cities because I think it's very grounding, brings it much closer to home than, say, these pictures. But essentially we're dealing with the same thing, an abandoned realm. It's the same damn thing. And these dates are in a much earlier time period, we're told, and it's the exact same thing. New people being introduced, and perhaps survivors coming back together. This could happen over the course of 100 years after a reset, and just dealing with a mess, dealing with an absolute mess and having to jumpstart this whole realm again. A lot of cleaning, and I think it takes another 100 years to clean And eventually technology catches up and
Oh,
demolishing can begin
that's
to take
crazy.
place. And essentially the reshaping and rewriting of history. What is certain, and I say that loosely, is that we're not dealing with carved stone at this point. The old stuff is simply made.
That
It's
looks
simply
weird.
cast. Just the way we don't carve concrete, we pour concrete today. And it's no different in the old world. If they needed metal, they made metal. If they needed gold, they made gold. I think this research has expanded my mind in a lot of ways. Simply seeing the old world over and over again. It's like looking at somebody's art, but in this case, the art of a past civilization. And after a while, you get to know them, and you still don't understand everything, and most of it is buried underground. And here's a great example of buried underground. It's a pyramid, and they've excavated little corners of it, and they're just these massive blocks. The thing is buried. And yet, just in this picture, we see two eras. The giant people, a giant race. I mean, who needs a pyramid that big? Well, someone did.
Right.
And then they're gone. And then another people come along and build this cathedral on top. I'll put a picture of the one in Mexico. I'll compare. But yeah, as beautiful as these
Damn.
buildings are, these are the most recent. I mean, nothing like the pyramids, or even Petra in Jordan, for example. But even these, being the most recent, have a poor explanation. I mean, similar to the slaves building the pyramids, or the silly stories that we were given in school. Here is the Musée du Congo.
Oh, he almost
the
got me.
Museum of the Congo. We see the same architecture. It doesn't matter which part of the realm. And here we can see the entrance to Notre Dame in
Oh,
Paris.
that's
Look the
tough.
size of these doors compared to the people and their horse and carriages. And recently in a video,
The widow
I will
people.
have shown abandoned Portland, Oregon. And the highest set of windows on one of the buildings I was showing had this same style, cathedral style. As we can kind of see here, I mean, each level has a different style window. Square, rounded, and then up at the top, I'm not sure if it's so in this particular building. And what an amazing people. What a
Wow, that was
artistic
tight.
people. Not this man. No. This man is probably responsible for these piles found all around here. This really reminds me of something I wanted to talk about today, but didn't. Maybe I'll inject some pictures. This looks like some
Yeah.
underground
I was going
realm,
in for a second.
perhaps in India, judging from this architectural style. The colonnade in Rameswaram really seems Indian feeling and seems super futuristic. This is so advanced. What are they even telling us this is? A subway system? That's what it looks like. I mean, it looks like a train system in ruins. It looks like it ran off some free energy tech up here. Some kind of magnet system
there he goes.
that would give it a push, pushing the train along magnetically. And anyway, what I would have talked about today is the underrealm in Pennsylvania. These explorers have discovered an entrance, many entrances, under Pennsylvania. And these tunnels
Man, we're gonna
ran all the
die.
way to Indiana
Defeated.
and under Ohio. Completely mind-blowing. Similar to how we saw a map provided by Jeffrey of these underground tunnel systems. The same can be found in North America. And these explorers are essentially finding the same thing, just like this. And now people can contest our research for everything above the ground. But when it comes to things like this, it becomes irrefutable that we're dealing with a past and great civilization, whatever you want to call it. In fact, this tunnel system is what the one looks like in the Pennsylvania Underground. It was kind of pointed and really looks like the building has tipped over.
Oh,
All the buildings often have kind of a slant. And here we can see a section on polygonal masonry. And here we see Baalbek in Lebanon. displaying this polygonal style with nubs. And then of course in Peru, which is more famous for the polygonal style, but we see it everywhere. Here we see it in China, or China. And look at this.
China.
I mean, this
Or
is
China.
now on the scale of the ruins of Yonaguni that I was talking about underwater. And look at this, an arch is buried. Here we see polygonal in Japan. And here we see 3 different Eiffel Towers. Japan, England, and France. Super tech of the old world. And in fact, a lot of these depictions that we see show the Eiffel Tower looking like this, even more advanced. These extra flares here. And I made a video once, and in my research was really shocked, actually, at how many, essentially thousands of these towers there were everywhere. Here a little look at the reset, just to have a little peek, why don't we? Showing everything being destroyed by lightning, or plasma, and showing how absolutely advanced everything is, and just carving out canyons and really making a mess of things. And yet this is just the surface. Look how this cathedral is being swallowed up into the earth. Oh, this is great. Reconstruction of Notre Dame. So phase 1, which will take a few years, will cost
Only a few
165 million euros. Or $197 million. Some people think it will cost as much as 8 billion if comparing it to the British Parliament building in London. Unbelievable. So here, just to show you what we're dealing with these structures, how much it actually costs to fix them. They're already built. Here, a man named Hendrickson notes, it's pretty amazing to think about how they did this with what they had, the tools and the technology they had at the time. Experts familiar with medieval restoration work said it could take 15 to 20 years to rebuild the roof, spire, and parts of the stone vaulting. There we go. I think this is the palace in Brussels, one of my favorite. Just an absolute mega mind blower. I guess we'll just finish up with these bricks I wanted to show. Old bricks. History at your feet. And I've been wanting to talk about it for months. After doing a lot of research on the bricks I find in Utah, the bricks that I Am Kairos found on the coast of California, can be traced back to Europe. And I think that's very important. We have bricks, and yet we have no proof of the scale that would have been needed for all the bricks we find in America. And then when we look at the stamps and trace them back, they trace back to Europe, as is the case with T-Car, I believe. And I think this is a great proof. It's kind of where the rewritten history ends.
I came up there.
We're given elaborate stories for how these buildings came to be. Usually more of the story focuses on the architect and not the builders or the building materials required for building everything that we see in all these abandoned cities throughout the realm. What we find is one building can be 15 million brick, and you have thousands and thousands of buildings in a very early time period. And I didn't find what I was looking for, but I found this. And I thought I would just scroll through some of these super exotic bricks. So perfect, seeming to have some metal mixed in with it. And I actually got on Home Depot and Lowe's websites to check out bricks. And a brick goes for about $1 or $2 these days. So here we are at the Lowe's site. And we have a clay brick for 48 cents. And it looks like it's out of stock. It has a 20-year warranty. And let's see what people had to say. Great reviews. Now, if we look at this other brick for 73 cents, they call it a solid clay brick, but when we look at the reviews, people are disappointed. They say it's made of concrete. Concrete, this is not clay, it's a cement brick. And I will continue my research and try to find some maybe old-fashioned brick makers. But I think this is a very important part of this research, especially
It is,
when
definitely.
these bricks are stamped. They should have a paper trail, and yet it falls apart. When you look at our American bricks, we're sent back to Europe, and a lot of these bricks look melted, but I'm not going to go there today. Those with eyes can see it. This is a calcium silicate brick, an unknown manufacturer, found on the Cumbrian coast. There we go. Just a mystery brick. Looks melted. Beautiful stamp, beautiful build, and a mystery. Here we have a story, and these bricks are beyond exceptional. Just like everything, the further back you go, the more exquisite. So let me know your thoughts. These bricks look like fine chocolates.
The bricks look like fine chocolates, he says. That'll bring me to what? I got a video I want to show y'all. Let's see if I can find it real quick. About chocolate. Do it.
Or Johnny Depp? Does he owe a specific debt to someone? Ninth Gate? If one were to study his work, they would completely see why Tim Burton knew that Johnny would be the best role for this film. Heck,
Right?
even the writer Roald Dahl's wife thought Johnny was the perfect actor for Wonka. Tim Burton is deeply connected with all of this, and we have to look at his movies that he made
Burton.
and the ones with Depp in order to understand the bigger picture at what these Hollywood fat cats are trying to tell you. We really grew up thinking that this story is just about some golden tickets and these kids touring some amazing and bizarre chocolate factory. Many
But
of
it's
Tim
not.
Burton's films are obsessive over death, and all of his films have a similar macabre style. It's understandable
Yeah.
that these topics would be explored within creative entertainment, but at some point, if we start to categorize this stuff, we can see that there are many similar themes and there's a bigger picture among these movies.
Uh-oh.
Beetlejuice is a story about an
Beetlejuice.
evil demon that possesses a home. And they never really say this, as it's supposed to be a light-hearted horror comedy involving a recently deceased couple, implying that they're a ghost. Yet, in the early drafts, it's revealed that Beetlejuice was supposed to be a
How did
winged
I not
demon.
kill him?
How do you think he got all his powers? If this is true, then could it be that this is some type of occult play in which the normalization of occult forces was being projected on the masses, leading to subconscious demonic possession in homes around the world? Too much, right? Well,
Right?
I don't know. Let's see what you think by the end of this video. It's obvious to anyone that's seen Burton's work that he has a strong relationship with the occult. For example, think about the movie 9 and its relationship to alchemy, homunculi, artificial man, Kabbalah, all of which are outside the scope of this video. Now, just because something contains occult topics doesn't inherently make it evil, but we have to remember that many of these famous Hollywood producers use magic within their films for specific mental subconscious programming, whether that is to embed their own viewpoint of the world on the film or to use symbols in order to harness energy that then in turn gives these movies power. I mean, bro, what kind of film is Edward Scissorhands? It's a story about an artificial human who was made in a Tartarian looking castle factory with all these weird machines and gadgets. Some weird metaphor for a man-made human that destroys everything it touches and has little to no understanding of the world in which he was brought in. A pitiful tale in which there are no real winners. This is very synchronistic for Depp's future films, as, let's keep in mind, he supposedly just got casted for Beetlejuice 2. If you want my opinion, I doubt Tim Burton is coming up with all this on his own. I mean, he may be the creative mind behind the vision of how they manifest, but in terms of the writing and the similarities between all these films, you start to really wonder if there's something else going on, some overarching narrative.
Definitely something
For
else
those who may
going
think
on.
this is just a case of coincidence, explain how or why is it that his first film in 1979, while he was supposedly in school, was a short animated film called Stalk of the Celery Monster, which is again a childish and comical approach to talking about some pretty horrible content. This short story is about a scientist who is doing genetic experiments, has some woman strapped to a table.
Damn.
She screams for the scientist to stop, breaking his glasses, but the scientist holds onto her mouth as a big pig-like monster comes into the room, yells at the girl, scaring her into silence, Then the scientist says, "Are we ready to begin?" as he starts injecting the patient, then, laughing maniacally, says, "I've done it." Then come to find out that this guy is Dr. Maxwell Payne, a family dentist, and he's doing this to unsuspecting victims behind the front of dental health. Basically a hijack. A dentist? This wouldn't be connected to anything else, would it? To me, something else is up with Tim Burton. He most likely was groomed and sent to school, and then because of his dark interest, was picked up by Hollywood elites. I mean, this is really weird for his first short film. What's the meaning? He was 20 and making stories about torturing other humans secretly?
Right.
Perhaps. But let's continue with Depp, as we can't look at all of Tim Burton's films, but we must keep that in mind. Johnny's first major film was A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is about a supernatural demon that murders people in their dreams. And what is the glove made of? Razors. This stuff is no accident. Quote, "In Celtic mythology, elm trees were associated with the underworld. They had a special affinity with elves who guarded the burial mounds, their dead, and the associated passage into the underworld." This video isn't really a Johnny Depp movie breakdown, but I just wanted to make some connections before we get to the chocolate factory. There's another theme of many Hollywood actors being pushed into inverted gender roles. As many of you know, almost a way to show how controlled these actors are and what they can push them to do. All of these films by Tim Burton, and many Depp films, promote secretly very satanic themes. And that's not to say that the occult is satanic, but the symbolism they are promoting is surrounding death, but most disturbingly, vampirism.
Vampire.
Now let's just start there, because if it's true that Tim Burton is some type of dark occultist, then we need to start asking questions, because he uses many of the same actors, including his wife, which many say are connected with the Rothschilds suspiciously. I can only say so much, but much of this has to do with Hollywood's fascination with
What is this shit? What is this shit? It's pure masculine, like ginger beer, man.
Got him. Adrenochrome. Damn. He high as hell. Got you.
Where'd you get this?
Where'd you get this?
What kind of monster coming up picked up this time? Satanism freak. I think there's only one source for this stuff. Adrenaline gland from a living human. I know. The guy didn't have any cash. You're from me, human blood said it would take me higher than I ever did. Thought he was kidding. I told him I'd just as soon have an ounce of silver pure adrenaline. Or maybe just a adrenaline to chew on. I could already feel the first wave felt like a combination of mescaline and methylene. Maybe I should take a swim.
Damn, fucked him up. What the heck is going on, bro? Fear and Loathing Las Vegas is this movie?
Now, can we really conclude that these actors are all Satanists? It's speculative, but if you start to watch all of Tim Burton's films, there's really no question that he's dead set on portraying exclusively disturbing scenarios.
Right.
many of which are well loved for their whimsical and surreal nature. Even Alice in Wonderland, Follow the White Rabbit. These people speak in symbols. Look at the cover. White rabbit with a pink eye, the red roses, time is running out. Interestingly, you can see this bunny programming symbolism all over Hollywood. The White Rabbit figure is the figure that leads us to visit otherwise inaccessible places or adventures.
Like Matrix.
They are guides that shepherd us down the rabbit hole. To some, it's a symbol of curiosity and intrigue, but to others, it's a symbol of mind control. This symbol brings to mind the whole Hugh Hefner CIA-backed MK Ultra factory thing. Don't think that the CIA is connected to all of this? Well, check out Lookout Mountain Laboratory, which was originally a U.S. Air Defense Department center, but was turned into a massive Hollywood studio. Supposedly, Lookout Mountain Laboratory was developing secret weapons during the Cold War. The existence of this facility wasn't acknowledged until the early 90s, even though it had preceded some 19,000 government propaganda films. Host to the likes of John Ford, Jimmy Stewart, Howard Hawks, Ronald Reagan, Bing Crosby, Walt Disney, and Marilyn Monroe.
That's everybody.
It's said that they were working there with top secret clearances on MK Ultra, or undisclosed projects. Hollywood civilian studio staff from Warner Brothers, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and RKO also worked alongside its military staff as producers, cameramen, and directors. So, with all that said, we're probably going to see Willy Wonka with completely new eyes.
Now that I've laid out all the different coincidences, you can presume that something else is going on with this whole Willy Wonka movie. The film is based on Roald Dahl's book, but even in the original, there are some clues that hint that something else is going on behind the scenes.
And you know what? We're gonna holler at y'all next time, or we're gonna get back to that next time. I got some other shit I gotta do, so yeah. Till next time. Y'all stay up. Peace.